Hey there, data lovers, and welcome to another I Love Data Fridays podcast here at the International Data Evaluation Center on the beautiful campuses of The Ohio State University. Ladies and gentlemen, I know that I didn't announce this I Love Data Fridays podcast ahead of time, so we are calling this our I Love Data Fridays Summer Break Edition 2017. This is in response to some questions and many requests for a chart that we showed at the Teacher Leader Institute just last week out in Anaheim, California. And it's a chart that was showing the OS total score growth. And we got some questions on how to compute that or make that chart, and also computing the years of growth. So, hey, you know what? I thought we'd show you how we can do something like that. So who's talking data to you? Well, of course, you've got me, Jeff Breimer-Bashore, the Director of IT and Operations, and let's get into this data. So for those of you who are at Teacher Leader Institute last week, or even watched it online on YouTube, at the IDEC Annual Update, we showed this chart right here, and this chart is showing the growth on the OS total score from the start of the school year to the end of the school year. So the bottom of each bar on here is showing the growth on the total score from the start of the school year at the bottom of the bar to the end of the school year to the top of the bar. All right, and we have different categories of students that we are showing data for. So in this example, we are showing a growth for some first-round discontinued students from a sample school district, the first-round recommended students from the same sample school district, the second round discontinued students from our sample school district. Then we are showing the average growth made by reading recovery children in the United States. And finally, this last bar is the growth of the average first grader in the United States. And the average first grader is our random sample. So this is the chart that we showed, and some people are requesting it, or also asking how do we make this type of chart. And people are also asking, how do you compute at the top of these bars the years of growth, the amount of growth? All right, and what each of these texts are showing is the amount of growth that a category of student made compared to the average first grader. So for example, for first round discontinued children in this school district, they made 1.6 years worth of growth compared to the average first grader. The average first grader is always making 1 year of growth. All right. So that's what we're going to do today. So we're going to examine how do we compute the years of growth compared to the average first grader in the United States. And then we're going to repeat it, and we're also going to show how do I compute the years of growth compared to the average first grader, say, in your school district. All right. And then finally, I'm going to show you how to make that OS total score growth chart. So here we go. So how do we compute the years of growth compared to the average first grader in the United States? All right, so now remember, the average first grader, that is our national random sample, that 2 students per school. All right, that's what we've just retitled them there for this. So we're going to need a couple things. First, we are going to need table 3.7 from a school district report. So you can take any of your school district reports and go to table 3.7. And I have a sample one here, a sample table 3.7. This is the one we are looking for. Next, you are going to need table 3.7 from the 2015-16 Reading Recovery National Summary Report for the United States. And you can get that by going to our website right here and going to the publications section and then clicking on this document right here. I'm going to do that. I'm going to download it. There it is. Open it up. I'm going to search for table 3.7. There it is, table 3.7. Spans across 2 pages. I've got that. Move that down a little bit. There we go. All right, for the time being, I'm going to move that out of the way. And then finally, we are going to need our handy-dandy calculator. So I'm going to bring up a calculator. There it is. Here's my calculator. I'm going to move it off to the side of the screen here for the time being. So how do we actually compute this growth? We're just going to be following a simple formula, and this formula is for the years years of growth compared to the average first grader in the United States. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to look up the fall to year-end gain for a group of students. So for example, you're going to look up the fall to year-end gain for discontinued students in your school district, all right? You'll look up that number, and then you're going to divide that number by the fall to year-end gain of the national random sample, all right? So where do we get these numbers? Well, we get them from the table 3.7s. So we get, for just to follow our example, we're going to get the gain for our discontinued students on the OS total score from table 3.7, and we're going to get the gain for the national random sample from table 3.7, just in the national report. And then we will just divide the discontinued gain by the average first grader, or random sample gain. So let's do that. All right, let's get my table 3.7 for my sample school district. All right, there it is. I'm going to make some room on the screen, shrink it down. I'm going to bring over table 3.7 from the national report. Let's shrink that down a little bit. There we go. All right, so maybe what we'll do is we'll follow along with the first example I said. For this school district, let's compute. So here's our school district data. Here's our national data, all right? Table 3.7 in both. So let's compute the years of growth made by discontinued students in this school district on the total score. So if you look in table 3.7, the very first line is discontinued students. The growth, the average growth, the gain, in this case that's called the gain for these students, is right here, 133.8. All right, that's our gain. Now, let's get that same data for our random sample for the United States. So once again, we're going to table 3.7, and we are going to look for the random sample, which is right here. The random sample line is right here, and we are going to go to this value right here, the mean gain, all right? And that's 111.9. So we are going to, let's bring over a handy dandy calculator. We are going to divide 133.8 by 111.9. 0.8 divided by 111.9. In this scenario, these kids made about 1.195. You can round that up to 1.12 years worth of growth compared to the random sample. Now, let's do this again, but we're going to choose a different group of students. Let's say you want to do it for your recommended students, okay? Here are your recommended students from our school district right here. We grab the mean, the mean gain. All right, so our random recommended students had a mean gain of 138.7. So we will divide 138.7 by 111.9. All right, so 138.7 divided by 111.9. So our recommended students made about 1.2 years worth of growth. So there we go. That's computing growth using the national random sample, which we call the average first grader in the United States. All right, let's move this out of the way. All right, so we're going to move on to our next one. How do I compute years of growth compared to the average first grader in my school district? Well, easy enough. So in this case, the average first grader in the school district is just your district random sample. So we're going to use the data from the schools that collected the random sample data in your school district. And we are going to use table 3.7 from your school district report. And we are going to use a calculator. And that's it. That's all we need. So I'm going to bring back over table 3.7. Hello, table 3.7. Welcome back. And I'm going to bring over my calculator again. Hello, calculator. Welcome back. All right, so here we go. Now we're going to use the same tactic. We're going to take a group of students and we're going to divide the growth that these students made by the growth that the random sample made. So now, in your table 3.7, you can find a row for your random sample right down here, all right? And here's the great growth that they made, 101.4. Now, I'm going to pick a different group of students, so we're going to look at the growth that our completed interventions make, um, our discontinued and recommended students. So we're going to take 135.3 and divide it by 101.4. So I take 135.3 divided by 101.4. So compared to the random sample in this specific school district, your completed intervention children made 1.33 years worth of growth during this school year. If we just wanted to do this for our discontinued children, we would take 133.8 divided by 101.4. So 133.8 divided by 101.4. So our discontinued children made a growth of about 1.3, I'm going to round that up to 1.32 years worth of growth compared to your school district random sample. So there you go, folks. That is how you compute the growth at both a national level and at a school district level, depending on which random sample you would like to use. All right, so we're going to go on to our next example about how can I make a simple OS total score growth chart. All right, and once again, we are going to use our table of 3.7 from a school district report because in this sample, we're going to compare the results to the national random sample. So we'll also need table 3.7 from our Reading Recovery National Summary Report for the United States. We're going to need a calculator, and we're going to use Excel to make this chart. All right, so here we go. So like I said, we're going to have our report. There's our table 3.7 for our school district. We are going to have our table 3.7 for from our national report in the United States. Let me bring up my calculator. Here's my calculator. I'm just going to scoot it off to the side. All right, and finally we need Excel, so I'm going to go ahead and open up Excel here. Get us a blank workbook, Excel workbook. I'm going to shrink this down just a little bit. All right, ladies and gentlemen, so the first step we have to do when we are making this OS total score growth chart is that we need to create two columns, one that is called fall and another one that is called year end. And you need to type the word fall into cell B1 and the word year end into cell C1. C is in canary. All right, good. Now, and you're like, Jeff, why am I doing that? And I'm just going to tell you, just do it because it'll make making your chart a lot easier later if you just follow right along with it. Excel kind of likes to have things pre-formatted in a certain way, and so we're just pre-formatting it in a way that Excel wants to have it. So now comes the part where you got to kind of think ahead a little bit. Here in column A, starting in cell A2, we're going to write out different categories of students that we want to make this chart for. So just as an example, I'm going to say we're going to look at the growth for our discontinued students. And you all can laugh at my horrible spelling. We'll look at our recommended students. We'll say kids who are our full program students. And then finally, we're going to throw in the average first grader. And I'm going to say US. All right, so on the left-hand side here, you just type in the categories of students that you want to appear on your chart. So yeah, let's re-summarize. So we're going to set up our table where down here in column A, starting in cell A2, you just type the category of students that you want to appear on your chart. And then in row 1 in columns B and C, we just type the words fall and year end because we are going to be we're going to be taking the fall OS total score and the year end OS total scores and pasting them into here. So let's go ahead and do that. So I'm going to shrink this down get table 3.7 up. And so I am going to now, for our discontinued students, we're going to get the fall mean score for our discontinued students. That's 408.7. I'm going to type that in, 408.7. For our recommended students, that was a 367.9, 367.9, 367.9. For our full program, which are completed interventions, that's 396.4. I'm going to skip the average first grader for a second. We're going to get year-end scores for our discontinued. So our year-end discontinued kids had a 542.5. Our recommended kids had a 506.6. Our full program children, which are found under the completed interventions, had a 531.6. All right, got those. Now let's get the fall and year-end scores for our national random sample. So we go over to the national report into table 3.7, and the fall score for the national random sample was 441.1. And the year-end score was a 553.0, so just 553. Okay, there we go. We've got our data all set, ready to go. I'm going to highlight it. I'm going to tell Excel to click on the Insert tab up here. I am going to, now, ladies and gentlemen, before I do this, I just want you to know, in Excel, there is no, make OS total score growth chart. A lot of times with Excel, and this is no exception today, we're going to start with one type of chart and then manipulate Excel into giving us the chart that we actually want. All right, so you're going to see me start by making a chart, but then have to completely manipulate Excel to get the chart that I want it to be, and it's just how it is. All right, so I am going to make a line chart. And, all right, of course, now I'm not seeing my, oh, here it is, line chart options. So I'm going to start by making a line chart. In case I went too fast, let me start over again. I'm going to highlight all of this data right here. I'm going to come over to the line chart button. I'm going to click the Insert tab. All right, click the Insert tab. And then I'm going to, oh, the Insert tab's not cooperating. Insert tab, stay there. There we go. Once I have the Insert tab down, I'm going to come over to the Line Chart button. This is the Line Chart button right here. I'm going to say, and I'm going to select this very first line chart. Okay, now we've got our line chart, which is nothing like what we want at all. So to get the bars on our chart, we have to click, I'm just going to click on the blue line. Anywhere on the blue line, and what I'm looking to happen is that it shows these kind of like little squares that have been highlighted. And I am going to click on the Design tab right here, this Design tab, and I'm going to come over to this button that says Add Chart Element, and I'm going to say Add Up-Down Bars, and I'm going to select that. I'm going to select Add Up-Down Bars. Okay, now on the screen you probably see these white bars that are on the screen now. I'm going to right-click with my mouse. If you're on a Mac, it's probably a two-finger click. I'm going to change their color. I'm going to select Fill in the center. I'm going to pick blue. Now I'm going to pick this blue. There we go. So now it's starting to look like our bar chart a little bit. So now I'm going to hide these lines. I don't want these lines. I just want the bars. So I'm going to click on the blue line, and then I'm going to right-click on it, and I think with the Mac it's a two-finger click. And with the outline, I'm going to click on Outline, and I'm going to select No Outline. And notice how it makes our line disappear. I'm going to repeat that step for our orange line. I'm going to right-click on it, two-finger mouse click for our Mac users. On Outline, I'm going to select No Outline. And that makes our line disappear. Now, we're almost there. Two more things. I'm going to get rid of this little box down here. This is the legend. When we were using our lines, it might have made sense to have it, but I'm just going to get rid of the legend. So I've clicked on it. I'm going to hit the delete button. It's gone. The other thing I don't like is I don't like the scale on our y-axis here, our up-down axis. So I'm going to right-click on it real quick. Two-finger mouse click for your Mac users. I'm going to say Format Axis, and I am going to select the range. I'm going to change the range. Of course, I want this to stop coming up. Stop. There we go. I want the range to be, let's see, about 350. I'm just eyeballing it, folks, to 550. There we go. Much better. Okay. So there we go. We've got the bars. You can mess around with the title if you want to. I'm going to change the font size. Change that to 14. Make the font black. Oh, not that. Undo. There we go. Font size, color black. Excellent. Say OS total score growth. All right. Oops, spelled that wrong. There we go. Now you're probably like, well, hey, Jeff, how do we get those nice little labels at the top there that tell us how many years worth of growth our students are making? All right, so this is where your computations with that we did earlier come into play. So first thing we got to do is we have to figure out, well, what's the easiest way to do this? All right, you know what? I'm just going to tell you one way, but we're just going to do it the easy way. All right. It may not be the most sophisticated, but you know what? It works. All right, I'm going to get up my national data and my school district data. I am going to see if I can strategically rearrange a few things here. Very good. Shrink that down, and then we will shrink this down a little bit. Scroll that up. There we go. All right, so now I can have these data right over here, and then I'm going to move this guy right over this side. Perfect. All right, now, so I'm going to call, you don't have to do this part, but I'm just going to say this is for our labels. We're going to put our labels in this column right here, column D, is we're going to stick our labels. And so remember, to compute our growth, we're going to divide the gain of our student groups. So we'll divide, so for example, for discontinued, we're going to divide the discontinued gain by the random sample gain. So 133.8 divided by 111.9. So let's get handy dandy calculator over here. Hey there, calculator. All right, 133.8 divided by 111.9. All right. Mistake. Let's try that again. 133.8 divided by 111.9. There we go, 1.1925. All right, so I'm just going to say 1.1. I'm going to round it to 1.2 years worth of growth. All right, let's do that for our recommended. Recommended, we'll take the 138.7 divided by the 111.9. 138.7 divided by 111.9. So about once again, about 1.2 years worth of growth. 1.2. Full program. So that's our completed interventions. 135.3 divided by 111.9. So 135.3 divided by 1111.9. About 1.2 years worth of growth. Now here's the easy part, people. The average first grader always makes 1 year's worth of growth, because we're comparing our other kids to our average first grader. They always make 1 year's worth of growth. So you don't even have, they are the definition of 1 year's growth. So you don't even have to compute it. So now let's bring our chart back over. There we go. And I should be able to do something like right click. All right, this is where it might get a little tricky. I'm going to click on the very top of this bar, and notice when I click on the very top center of this bar, it brings up like little rectangles on the rest of our bars. And Oh, I need to adjust my my axis a little bit. Just bump that up to 560. Cuts off the top of one of my bars. All right, there we go. So I'm going to click on all my bars. And you notice like this little rectangle appears on top of all my bars. I've clicked on the very center top of just one of my bars, and I'm going to right click, and I'm going to say Add Data Labels. If you're a mouse or Mac user, it's a 2-finger click. Add Data Labels. Now it wants to automatically pick labels for us, and I'm going to format. I'm going to right click on our data label, a data label, doesn't matter, 2-finger mouse click if you're a Mac user. I'm going to say Format Data Labels. I'm going to come over here. I'm going to say our labels are going to come from values in some cells. So I'm going to do that. You have to select a cell range. I'm going to select this cell range here. So I've selected these 4 cells. I'm going to uncheck value. I am going to uncheck show leader lines. And I am going to say to put these labels above. There we go. And you know what? I'm going to fix these up a little bit. This is going to be, say, 1.2 years of growth. Just going to add the word years of growth in there. Copy. Do a cut, paste. And 1 year of growth. And ladies and gentlemen, there you go. This is your very own OS Total Score growth chart from start to finish. You don't have to put the labels in. If the labels give you problems, you don't have to. You can stop right at the very end where we've got our bars and everything. But if you're feeling particularly spunky, you can go ahead and add those labels in if you want to. So, all right. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to say thank you for watching I Love Data Fridays, our Summer Fun Edition 2017. I Love Data Fridays is going to be on hiatus until August, so be watching your emails when the beginning of August rolls around. And ladies and gentlemen, we will talk data to you later.